Hey everybody, Jeremy here from O'Reilly Auto Parts to talk to you about how to check and fill your vehicle's fluids. Checking fluids on a regular basis is an easy way to help ensure the longevity and reliability of your vehicle. Most owner's manuals will show you where these fluids are located under the hood, as well as recommending specific fluid types and service intervals. As always, if you're not completely comfortable doing this yourself, we'd be happy to recommend a professional technician in your area. Let's start by looking at engine oil. Besides fuel, it's probably the most important fluid in your vehicle. Motor oil lubricates engine components and keeps everything going smoothly. It's a good idea to check it once a month or more often if you suspect a leak or another issue. Your vehicle's manufacturer will specify the recommended oil weight and change service interval for your vehicle. Make sure your vehicle is turned off and sitting on level ground. Let it sit for at least 30 seconds before checking the oil level. Most vehicles have a dipstick under the hood that you'll use to check the level of the oil. Once you find the dipstick, slide it out and wipe the excess oil off the end with a shop towel. You should see markings or other indicators on the dipstick for minimum and maximum oil levels. After wiping off the excess oil, reinsert the dipstick all the way, then pull it back out to see what the oil level is. The oil should be reading close to the maximum marking. If it's a little low, add oil carefully to top it off. A funnel is helpful when you're doing this. Make sure you're adding where the oil fill cap is removed, not the dipstick tube. Add a few ounces at a time and recheck it to make sure you don't overfill it. If your level is at or below the minimum mark, it's important to add oil immediately. This could be an indication that your vehicle is leaking or burning oil. You should seek the help of a professional to prevent further damage. Also, take note of the texture or color of the oil. Get some between your fingers. It should be slick and smooth in a yellow or amber color. Grittiness or particles in the oil can indicate that components are wearing down, which is a major issue. If you notice a milky color, check to see if there's any condensation on the inside of the cap. If there is, it could be an indication of moisture that hasn't been burned off. But it could also mean that coolant is leaking into the engine oil, which is a more serious situation. Other indications of this can be brownish coloration in the coolant reservoir or white smoke from the exhaust. If any of those symptoms are present, you should have your vehicle towed to a shop to avoid damage to your engine. An engine produces a lot of heat, and your coolant, also known as antifreeze, is what keeps things cool. It does this by absorbing engine heat and allowing it to dissipate through the radiator, which keeps your vehicle from overheating. It's recommended you check your coolant level with each oil change. Always wait for your engine to cool completely before checking coolant. 2 to 3 hours is safe if you've been driving. Even though some reservoirs will give an accurate reading whether the coolant is hot or cold, pressurized coolant can spray and cause burns. To check the level, you'll usually see a tank that has minimum and maximum marks on it. Also, take off the radiator cap to make sure it's filled to the top. Only add coolant that's specifically approved by your vehicle's manufacturer. And if you suspect a leak, have your vehicle diagnosed by a professional as soon as possible. In most cases, a necessary element of steering is power steering fluid, although there are some vehicles that have electrically assisted steering that requires no fluid. It's a good idea to check your power steering fluid at every oil change, and change it as often as specified by your vehicle's manufacturer. Similar to other fluids, you'll usually find a reservoir or dipstick in the engine bay. Check the reservoir or remove the dipstick to check the reading, and top it off if necessary. To avoid causing damage, only use the type of power steering fluid specified by your vehicle's manufacturer. If this fluid is something you're having to add regularly, you probably have a leak. Have the problem looked at by a professional technician to avoid steering problems and safety issues. Vehicle brakes are hydraulic, which means they require fluid to function properly. Outside of any brake issues, it's beneficial to check your brake fluid level at every oil change. Most vehicles have a brake fluid reservoir under the hood, sometimes under a plastic cover near the bottom of the windshield. Just make sure the level falls between the marks for minimum and maximum. Also, if you can't see through the fluid, if it's dark or cloudy, it needs to be replaced. If you're adding to the reservoir, be sure only to use the brake fluid specified by your vehicle's manufacturer. If your vehicle has a manual transmission with a hydraulic clutch, you'll want to check your clutch fluid level at each oil change. Your clutch fluid reservoir is typically located near the brake master cylinder toward the back of the engine bay. Specific locations should be in your owner's manual. The fluid level should fall between the markings for minimum and maximum levels. Some older vehicles may have metal reservoirs that require you to remove the cap to see the level. Hydraulic clutches use the same type of fluid as hydraulic brake systems, so if you do need to add fluid, only add fluid that meets the DOT specification recommended by your vehicle's manufacturer. In our case, no additional fluid is needed. Transmission fluid serves to cool and lubricate components like gears, clutches, and valves inside your transmission. Some vehicles come with transmission fluid that isn't intended to be changed. Other vehicles will recommend changing the fluid every 30,000 to 100,000 miles. But if you're having transmission issues like rough shifting or surging, start by checking the fluid. In some cases, you'll find a dipstick. Others will require a professional technician. Always follow the procedure specified by your vehicle's manufacturer for checking transmission fluid. If your vehicle has a dipstick, the process will be similar to how you've checked other fluids. But there are a few differences. When you check the transmission fluid level, you'll want to have your engine turned on and transmission in park or neutral, depending on the vehicle. Setting your emergency brake and chalking your wheels is a good idea for this procedure. But before checking the dipstick, put your foot on the brake and use your gear selector to cycle through all the gears with the vehicle idling. This will allow a more accurate reading. The fluid should feel smooth and be amber or red in color. Fluid that's dark, cloudy, or gritty indicates a problem that requires professional attention. If you need to add transmission fluid, use a funnel to pour a small amount into the fill tube. In most cases, topping off this fluid won't require more than a pint, so add a small amount at a time. It's very important not to spill any outside the tube. Transmission fluid can ignite if it makes contact with the hot manifold. Make sure only to use the transmission fluid type specified by your vehicle's manufacturer. Put your foot on the brake and cycle through all the gears again. Recheck the dipstick to make sure the fluid is at the right level. Make sure when you're done to replace the dipstick securely. Some will latch or lock into place. Even though it isn't necessary to your vehicle's performance, windshield washer fluid is an important part of driving safely, and it's probably the easiest fluid to maintain. There are several varieties to choose from: freeze protection for cold weather, bug wash for summer, or all season for year-round visibility. The reservoir should be easy to find, and all you have to do is pour fluid in until it's full. Most vehicles will only have one reservoir, even if there's a rear wiper, but in some cases you'll find a washer fluid reservoir in the rear also. And that's it. You'll find everything you need for this and other jobs at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or O'ReillyAuto.com. Our DIY videos are designed to help answer questions we get in our stores every day. If you found this one helpful, subscribe to our channel to get all the latest. We'll see you again soon.